Really what I think about socialization. We should follow what I call the 75-25 rule. But first, we really have to think, what do we mean by socialization? Definitions are really important when it comes to talking about our dogs and what we expect from them. So when I think of socialization, I don't just think going up and physically interacting with every being that our dog meets out on a walk or in any other public setting. And although I think it's a little dangerous to use these very blanketed sort of human analogies when it comes to dog training, I think comparing socialization to what we expect of each other as humans is helpful in this case. So think about it. If you're out in a restaurant and you see all these people in the restaurant, is it really appropriate or desirable for you to go up and hug, shake hands with, and get really close and personal with every single person in that restaurant? No, it's not. So let's keep that in mind when it comes to our dogs. What do we really expect from them when we're out on walks? Do we want them to anticipate that every person and dog they pass is going to be an opportunity for interaction? I don't think so. I think what we want them to anticipate is that these people and these dogs out on these walks are really just don't really have much meaning to them. Because you see, we can have problems with socialization when dogs attach too much meaning to people and dogs out on walks. As a matter of fact, that's probably the root cause of most reactivity issues is that the dog sees some value or has some expectation attached to the people and the dogs that they see out on walks. That's how they become triggers for our dogs because they trigger a reaction. And we really want to take this we really think about our dog's learning in terms of a line or our dog's behaviors in terms of a line, sort of a timeline of events, if you will. So we have a situation that we're in. So say we're on a walk. If 90% of the time on that walk, your dog gets to go up to and interact with dogs and people, when your dog is on this walk, they're going to have an expectation of interaction. So all of a sudden, your dog's brain is thinking, we're on a walk, and it's loading up, and they're thinking the next thing that's going to happen is I'm going to see people, for example. And if 90% of the time when they see a person, they're going to be able to go interact with them, that's going to be the expectation that follows them seeing that person. People equals, let's say, pets, because they say if you let the dog go up to everybody it sees and they get petted, that's what the dog expects to have happen. And really the ultimate outcome of that is high arousal. And arousal is really sort of a general term I use to refer to your dog's energy level. It's very high in excitement, energetic, has this big expectation of something really exciting to happen. And with high arousal, we have a lot of undesirable behaviors, at least typically when it comes to going on a walk with our dog. All right, and all that arousal is probably going to be geared towards people and other dogs that aren't you, right? That's definitely not what we want on a walk. So ultimately, what's going to happen is your dog's just going to connect walk to high arousal. And that's where we start to see a lot of problems happening. You go out on the walk, the dog's pulling, lunging, barking at everybody and everything it sees. So I want you to try to scratch that from your head, especially if you have a new dog, a young dog, but even a dog that has reactivity issues out on walks. Really what I want you to think about is when your dog sees a person or a dog, only let it interact 25% of the time at most. And honestly, that physical interaction isn't really even necessary out in your walks. 75% of the time, at least, your dog should be just have no reaction to them, should be neutral. If anything, we should encourage our dog to pay attention to us and redirect back to us. If we follow that, if say at least 75% of the time when our dog on a walk notices people, we say, hey Fido, look at me, here's some treats. We have what we call engagement back to the handler. And that leads to either lower arousal or if it is heightened arousal, it's at least directed back to whomever's holding the leash. So then ultimately what we have happening is dog's on a walk and it has this expectation of either lower arousal or high arousal geared towards the person with the leash. Because most of the time, at least 75% of the time, when the dog sees a person or a dog or a squirrel or whatever usually gets its attention, if most of the time that's going to lead directly to engagement with the handler, which ultimately leads to decreased arousal or high arousal back to the handler, that's going to be the ultimate expectation. And we're not going to have a lot of these undesirable qualities that we see in our dogs out on walks, like the pulling and the lunging and the barking. So don't be fooled in thinking that when you take your dog on a walk, it has to go up and interact with every person and every dog it sees. It's really going to cause you more problems than not. Make that comparison to what you expect from yourself and other people when you're in public settings, and just try applying that to your dog.